Please welcome. And then I have just for information for all of you. For the next time, if have this room, we have a full seat. You can move for the old one. We have for the small screen and take a seat for all of you. Okay, thank you very much. เดี๋ยวขอเชิญคุณหมอเลยนะคะขอบคุณค่ะ
First of all, I have to say thank you to Dr. Lin for his excellent lecture. He's really a good lecturer. So, for this session, I will focus on the forehead area because now the forehead augmentation in a non-surgical way is growing popularity, and you know this area can cause a lot of complications and blindness, right? Let's talk about the essential part for the non-surgical forehead augmentation. You can make it successful session or make the blindness happen easy. First of all, before you study and doing the injection for any single area, you have to know the anatomical boundaries of each area first. For the forehead, its boundaries is from the upper part of the hairlines, and for the lateral boundary is the temples, and for the lower one is the eyebrows and the nasal root. And if someone is bald, you see in the bald people, the boundary of the forehead is still at the upper border of the frontalis muscle. So the key of this area is the boundary of the muscles. And for the scalp, you have to remember this. It is very important. S is for skin, C for the connective tissue, is this layer. And A is for the aponeurosis, or what we call gallier. L is for loose areolar connective tissue, and P is the pericranium. And you can look here. This one is the cranium. This one is the loose connective tissue and the periosteum of the cranium. This one is the aponeurosis, and this one of the scalp skin. So the thickness of the skin of the forehead is very, very thick. It's around 2,381 microns, which is nearly the thickest skin of the face, besides the mentum, which is thicker. So the skin for the forehead and the area adjacent to it is really high contrast because you know that the periorbital skin is really thin. So you have to be careful when you inject this area and inject this area because the sense of the hand is totally different. The depth is totally different when you use the same force. And this one, very important about the vessels. You know, actually, the complication for the injectables of the fillers, the really most important anatomical landmark is the vessels that can cause the vascular complication. For the surgery, it's like the nerve that you can cause the neuropraxia, and for the botulinum toxin is for the muscles. However, look at here. We can see that from this wheel, for the forehead, the vessel that mainly feeds this area is the supratrochlear artery and supraorbital artery. And it has been anastomosed with this area, the frontal branch of the superior temporal artery. And it's also anastomosed with the vessel that feeds from the nose. Okay? And you can see this picture. So this means that actually the vessel of the forehead has been connected to many vessels. So if the complication happens here, the emboli can spread anywhere. I will have the real showcase show here later. And this is in the caliber. You can see this is the superior branch of the superficial temporal artery, and this is supratrochlear and supraorbital. It's have the anastomosis. So, this is the picture from the standard textbook of the dermatology Fitzpatrick. If you look at the vessels here, it seems very easy, right? That's nothing complicated. but it's not the real life. You have to remember, when you do any procedure or injection, you have to keep in mind the X, Y, Z axis injection. The depth is so important. Normally, when you have been trained, you will have been trained for the anatomical landmark for injection for X and Y. But you do not know the Z axis. What is the depth in there? It can cause complication easily in that way. So, okay, the scheme in mind. Remember here, supratrochlear, supraorbital, frontal branch of superficial temporal artery. And you can see here, this is the angular artery and dorsal artery. They are all connected. And look at this picture. In general, I think you have been trained that normally to inject for the forehead, you have to inject it on the bone. That's the safer area, right? This is the foramen. When the vessels comes off, supratrochlear and supraorbital, and around 2 centimeters or 20 millimeters. It comes out from the deep area to the superficial area. You see, from the orbital ring, 20 millimeters. And you can inject under this aponeuroses safely. This is the general concept. But the truth is, according to one paper published recently, this is a dissection in carnival. They proposed the new way of the classification of the supratrochlear and supraorbital artery. You can look at this one. It's the concept that above 2 centimeters from the foramen, there is no deep vessel and you can inject on the bone safely. Do you think that is 100% true? If you can see this picture. From this one, they classify the vessels here into 3 main groups. For the group 2 is the group of the cadaver that has a deep deep supraorbital artery. And you can see that actually every group here, there are the supraorbital artery. So this is one. So the supraorbital artery does exist in every group. But for the group 2, which is responsible for only 45% in this report, there is no deep supratrochlear artery, which is good for us, right? Actually, in my opinion, I think this group is the safest group for us to inject. But you know, we never know which one have any kind of variations, right? And let's go back at the group 1. For group 1 is the group that deep supraorbital artery exists. This group altogether is responsible to 55%. It's quite high, right? So this is a rather more risky group. And they're divided into group 1A and 1B by the way of superficial supratrochlear artery. When they go superficial, they go in a different way. For the 1A, they goes up and feed the superficial part of the forehead together with superficial supraorbital artery. But for this group, 20%, the superficial part of the forehead has been fed by the mixture of central artery and paracentral artery together with the superficial supratrochlear artery. It's super complex, you see? And you will never know which case has which kind of variations. So, to say frankly, in the previous lecture, that mention about the danger zone. I have to say that for my practice, there's no 100% safe zone. I have ever aspirate the blood from the safe zone of temporal. I have seen the vessels there in the cadaver. So, however, you have to know danger zone. You know this, right? Because you have a good anatomy, knowledge, you know where's the danger zone. You can avoid the majority of the cases. But this do not mean that you can avoid 100% complication. Keep this in mind. So be careful every time you do injection. And this is the distance between the lines perpendicular to the medial canthal area to the supraorbital foramen. From the study, you can see that it's around 1 centimeter plus or minus 5 millimeters. Do you think it's quite a big range, right? You can see, let's say from here, go to the foramen, which is dangerous. It may be like 5 millimeters or 15 millimeters. So where's the foramen? So memorizing the number is not that much useful in this case because there is a lot of variation. But what is really useful is your finger and physical examination. If you put your finger on the orbital ring and you can find some depression, this means the notch is there. And if you put your finger on the area and you can feel the pulse, it means artery is there. So there's no need for memorizing the things, just your finger. And even in the case with variation, you can still feel the right area of the notch and the artery. And so, to sum up, this area in the blue area is the area of deep supraorbital artery. This area, this green one, is the area of superficial supraorbital artery. This area in orange is the area of deep supratrochlear artery. And for the pink one is the area for superficial supratrochlear artery. So you can see that actually we have just a small safe zone, the green one like this, that Dr. Lin has mentioned earlier. It's so narrow for the safe zone in this area. And remember this, when you do the injection or any procedure, X, Y, Z scheme of mind, you have to keep in mind every time you do the injection or the procedure. And this picture is impressive. From this picture, you can see that in the cadaver, this one is a superficial supratrochlear artery, and this one, the galley has been reflected. This is a deep supratrochlear artery, and this one is deep supraorbital artery. You can notice that this one and this one, the superficial and deep supratrochlear artery, is overlapping. So what does it mean? It's overlapping. So actually, in this area, there's no 100% safe zone. The area that say there's no deep vessel, it can have the overlapping with the superficial vessel. No safe zone. So this is the conclusion that we can draw. And what should we do? There's no 100% safe zone area for injection, not just for the forehead, but every single place on the face of the body. We all have variation. So, okay, we have to pray, right? But knowledge does have a role here. Okay? So, what we are concerned about a lot when we have the procedure of the injectables is the complication of the vascular complication. Normally, the complication we divide into the local, systemic, and other complication. For the local complication, this is my favorite categorization, my preference, because I divide into the early complication and the delay complication. It is very easy for the detection, differential diagnosis, and management. For the early complication, the top one here, it do not happen often, but it costs you a lot of money if it happens. It's the vascular complication. And the other complications like infection, local hypersensitivity, injection site reaction like bruising, hematoma, edema, erythema, pain and itching, nodularity, irregularity, asymmetry, under overcorrection, or tendon effect is the early complication that you can detect. And for the delay complication, it has an infection, but the infection for the delay complication is not the same as the early one. Early one is mostly like bacterial like or the viral reactivation. But if the delay one is like fungal mycoplasma or biofilm, right? And the material migration or the malaedema. For the systemic complication, you also cannot overlook this one because it is life-threatening. It can lead to death. It's a systemic allergy reaction, anaphylaxis, or angioedema. Can you remember what is the allergies type of reaction for this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Go back to your medical school. It's a type 1 reaction. It's the same type as the anaphylaxis. So it leads to death in a few seconds if you cannot control it in the right way. So you have to be careful. And this one is an example of the early angioedema. But from my experience, the angioedema and hypersensitivity from the forehead injection do not happen much. It happens more frequent when you inject the lips or the periorbital area. I think there's some reason behind this, but there's no literature review right now for this explanation. And this is the acute generalized facial edema. Just remember the pattern, and if this happens, please take a prompt action. And next, vascular complication, the really key player for these things. This is from the TV in my country a few years ago. You see this symbol? This symbol in my country is the symbol that the military is taking control of my country at that time, a few years ago. This one is from the TV channel a few years ago. It's caused the blindness from the filler injection. You can see the defect. And for the vascular complication, this review has been published in 230. You can see the red one is the visual complication, the blue one is the necrotic complication, and the yellow one is anaphylactic one. You can see that most of the complication, the necrotic one or the visual one, it is mainly distributed at the medial part of the face. That's why the prevalence of blindness and complication has been reported more in Asian. Because you know, Asians have flat midline compared to the Caucasian. So that is the reason why. And also next. This one has been published in 2015. We can also see that although it's different study, but the patterns is quite the same. right? And the majority is around here, right? And this one has been published in this year. You can see that maximum one for blindness is in the granular complex, nose, and equally the nasolabial and forehead. And if you stick to the boundaries I mentioned earlier of the forehead, the granular complex, some part of it is a part of the forehead. So what we can imply that forehead, granular area, and the nose is a very dangerous area. And the type of filler that cause blindness maximally is fat filler. Next, HA. Okay, HA I think this is understandable because for HA we have used it a lot, and the more we do the procedure, the more the complication happens. But this is very impressive for the fat, for this number. And this one is another study published this year. You can see that the majority, 47%, nearly half, is the autologous fat. For the HA around 28, 30 somewhere. And this is the case of the blindness from the fat transfer. So to say frankly, I think technical related is really important for the complications. For example, if you do the fat injection in the expert injector, that do it very careful. Maybe the rate is lower than you do the HA injection in the careless injector. You see, the rate is the combination of everything together. And this is the type of the periocular complication associated with blindness following the filler cosmetic injection. There are 4 types. Type 1 is the blindness without ophthalmoplegia and ptosis. Type 2 is the blindness with ptosis but without ophthalmoplegia. Type 3 is blindness with ophthalmoplegia but without ptosis. Type 4 is the blindness with ophthalmoplegia and ptosis. For the prognosis of blindness is very poor. Not much improvement for the blindness of VA. But for the ophthalmoplegia and ptosis, the prognosis is better. Do you know the reason behind this? The key word is the end organ damage. For the blindness, the end organ damage is retina, right? Retina can live without blood only 1 to 1.5 hours. But for the organ damage of ptosis and ophthalmoplegia is the muscles, which they can live longer without oxygen. So this is the reason behind this. And you can see, this is the ophthalmic artery and central retinal artery. You can see that when you inject here, or even here, all the embolites can flow into the vessels and cause blindness. And you see this one, you control from any direction. And this filler, what is it? It's a skin necrosis from the granular injection and the forehead injection. And this is the real case that has been referred to me a few years ago. This case, she wants to augment her forehead. Can you see this depression here? It's congenital depression. And this is immediate after the treatment. There's a blanching around here. And this one is 1 day after the treatment. Okay. I'm not sure whether this color there is clear. Okay. You can see that actually immediate after the treatment, you can see some blanching already immediately. And it's progressed can detect this case at this phase, the result will be very good. But if you leave it longer, it's not okay. And you can see this one. Immediate after, before, immediate after, and 24 hours. And you can see the distribution. The emboli has been thrown around here, here. She do not inject the nose, but you can see the emboli is thrown around here. Just point here and emboli thrown everywhere. And she also has a subconjunctival hemorrhage. But good luck, her VL is still okay. So I treat her with a holistic approach. I do the prompt ALS treatment and also combine with the supplement that promote the circulation like omega-3, reduce the inflammation. I do the IV Mayer's treatment to support the regenerative capacity of the patient and many things more. And so this is the result after the treatment. 1 month, heal with no scar. Because actually this phase, it should have a scar already. It has been very delayed referred to me. And this one is a demarcation phase of the vascular complication. And you see if you have a delay referral, it can cause the scar. This one, you can see. And this one. I think many of you will mistaken this as the bruising or hematoma, but it's the vascular complication. And this is the real case that has been referred to me yesterday. After I finished the congress, I have to go help her. This case has been referred to one of the very reputable professor in the medical school here in the university. They have told that this one is just a hematoma, nothing to be worried. But I insist that it is not. It has the combination part of the vascular complication. So how can I prove this? I have 4 questions. Normally hematoma, how long does it take to improve? Minimally 1 or 2 weeks, right? So anything that can be improved within a few minutes is not hematoma, right? And I prove what I insist with this. You can see this is the upper lip of the patient, and this one is what seems to be hematoma. But after I have done a hyaline injection in the multi-layer technique, you can see it's improved within a few minutes. So it's not a hematoma alone. It's have the combination part of the vascular complication. So be careful with the case like this. You can miss it easily. And this is the clinical findings of vascular complication from phase to phase. It starts with blanching, then lividal pattern, then blue back discoloration, then blister or bullae formation, then skin breakdown, ulceration, demarcation, slough. So for me, I will be very happy if you detect your patient at only the first 2 phases, only the early phase, blanching and lividal phase. And so we can have a prompt treatment with better prognosis. Because if this have ulceration or blister, even the driver can diagnose. That's the problem. No need to be doctor, right? So you have to be taken early in this 2 phase. And this is the pattern. Please keep this picture in your mind and keep the common sense in your mind. If this pattern happens to a patient, vascular complication is the number one culprit. And this is the demarcation phase. This phase, you may have the infection on top, which make the prognosis even worse. And this one, this have an scar already. The driver knows it's a problem. So you have to be better than the driver, right? As a doctor. And this is a picture of the vascular complication of 3 days, 17 days, 7 days, and 6 days of the presentation. So what determines the prognosis of the case is firstly the time of detection. The faster, better prognosis. And second is the severity and the amount that has been pushed through into the vessel. And at this slide, do any one of you have the decision to stop doing the injection already? By the way, okay, better knowledge can save us more. And this is the less severe complication that can happen anywhere. The bruising, here can happen, the forehead can happen. Any part of the body that has been filled with the vessels, bruising can happen, right? So it's super nonsense for you to promise to the patients that I will do the procedure without bruising. It's totally nonsense. It's the overclaim things. And this is a bacterial infection. This is the real case that has been referred to me. You see? It has been from her forehead injection. It becomes like this. And this is also the real place that present to me. You can see the infection around here is so dangerous because it can spread to the nose. Someone that have rhinoplasty is really high risk when you have a problem with the forehead. And it can spread to the periorbital area. You can see it's really dangerous. However, after the correct treatment right now, she's happy already. So, the foreign body granuloma is like this. It can happen in any area, forehead or any area. And the Tyndall effect. The Tyndall effect has been caused from two superficial injection, right? However, can you remember earlier what I have mentioned that the forehead skin is very thick. So, Tyndall effect can happen easier like the periorbital rejuvenation or the thin skin here in the elderly. But the forehead, it will not come out like the Tyndall complication, but it will come out like irregularities instead. Normally we have to inject on the bone, right? But if you inject too superficial, it will cause, if you are good luck, it will cause us these irregularities. But if you put on the wrong place, if you have bad luck, it will cause blindness and necrosis. You understand this? Also, this one, the same problem. This cat actually has been injected before by the very well-known injectors, but it still can cause this problem. So I have to blend and correct this one. And this is another kind of complication. Actually, I mentioned earlier about the natural beauty concept is very important. If you inject to the people like this, it will cause her to be like a goldfish, forehead, unproportionate projection, and it causes the witch chin. So do not make the people like this. And in this case, she also have the irregularities also. Actually, this forehead, it costs her really around 6,000 USD already to have this forehead before the correction. You see, this is the result. So, be a good and ethical doctor. Do not do something only for you. You have to keep your integrity. And so, to correct and prevent this problem, you have to do the 360 angle evaluation of your patient in every view. Frontal, oblique, lateral view, every view. And the room of the procedure have to have a symmetry and good light. Some of you omit this, which is very important. Because if you are in the room that do not have good light and symmetrical light, you cannot detect asymmetry. You understand this part, right? But when the patients go out of your room, she will be in better light. She can detect the asymmetry. This is very important. The irregularities in others area may be forgivable, but it's not forgivable for the forehead. It's very obvious. So this is the scheme of the complication management. For the early one, okay, so if it's just bruising, just do the cold compression, apply pressure, observe. Okay, if the clubbing indoor, you maybe use highlights or exercise, massage. For the nodules, okay, the nodule, what is important, you have to rule out the infection first. Okay? Do not put the steroid to treat the nodules if you are not sure whether it's infection or not. Because from my experience of the case referred to me off and on nodules, they has been treated with the immunosuppressive and steroid. Most of my experience that there is not much pure immunological response. It's the infection that has not been detected. So, as a dermatologist, do not use only steroid. That is not smart as dermatologist. And for the intravascular, okay, for the visual one, immediate referral. And for the other thing, okay, keyword, you have seen many choices of treatment. Stop injection, massage, warm embrace, NTG, blah 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 blah. But you know, the only one and only most important one is higher risk. Okay, do not waste your time to find, oh where is NTG PET, oh where is hyperbaric to refer the patients. That's not adjunct therapy. The keyword is the higher risk. Do not waste the time when inject higher risk. And in this study, this is a really pretty rabbit. She has been induced the emboli in her ear. Okay? After injection of the emboli, we do the hyalase 4 hours. And this is a defect. Not much, right? But if we do the hyalase 24 hours, that's a lot of necrosis. So from this study, time is a key. And this one is after the treatment, a complication and 1 day. You see? So time is the key. And vascular complication for blindness. Okay, to say frankly, the treatment of the iotrogenic emboli is usually unsuccessful because the golden period for the retina is usually 1 to 1.5 hours. That's only that. So, what is more important here is the prevention. You have to know a good anatomy. It's better to know, but keep in mind not 100%, but better to know. And you have to inject slowly with the minimum pressure. And inject in small increment, 1 by 1. Do not push a big bolus. It's too risky. And aspirate before the injection. It does help, okay? Although it's 100%, but it does help. The technique when you do the aspiration is to do aspiration very slow and give it the time. It's not just and inject after that. You just aspirate and wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then inject. Wait and give the time for blood to be in the syringe. And smaller diameter of needle and syringes because it gives less pressure. And considering the cannula, this is also a really popular pitfall also. Do you think that cannula is safer than needles? The answer is yes and no. It depends on the size of the cannulas. If you use a small size cannula, it can act as a needle, or even worse, because it can cannulate the vessel, right? So please be careful when you use cannula, and it's safer than if you use the bigger cannula than small one. That's the key. And also be very careful when the patients have been through the surgery or have the congenital deformity. Can you remember the case that I mentioned earlier that have a forehead complication? She injected the area that she has a congenital depression. Normally, someone that has congenital depression or surgery, the vasculature is not as in the textbook. Understand this, right? So the safe zone will no longer be safe zone. Okay. And the other case of blindness has been reported here in Thailand. That case, they correct the forehead for the congenital anomalies also. And okay, epinephrine may help for the vasoconstriction. And this is the blunt cannula versus sharp needle. So, some blunt cannula, when you buy the cannula, do not consider only the price factor. You have to consider the quality, because some cannula, they are sharp. Okay? So the best way to test when you want to buy the cannula to use is to press yourself. Press yourself. It sounds funny, right? But it's true. If you use the blunt cannula and press yourself, and you can feel the feeling that it's sharp, do not use that. It's a common sense, right? This is the really best way for picking the right cannula. Do not consider only the price. There's no good cheap things in this room. It's the truth. And this is a 3-to-know strategy that you have to keep in mind in every single procedure. You have to know your patients, know their problem, the anatomy and physiology of them. You have to know the product, the property of the product, the risk, the complication of the product, and how can we correct that. You have to know yourself. You have to know your own knowledge and technical skill. You have to evaluate yourself accurately. Do not do any procedure that is beyond your competency just for money. You understand this, right? Okay, because we are the doctor. And this is the last slide that I would like you to keep in mind. From what we have discussed earlier, we can draw the conclusion that no 100% self-sold in this room. This is a sad conclusion, but it's the truth. So, however, if you love our work, we still continue to work in this field, right? How can we minimize the risk? So, remember again, X, Y, Z frame of injection. You have to consider the axis, the depth of the injection, the direction when injection, and a very important keyword is a low pressure injection. Super important one. Because you know, the cause of the vascular complication has been happening because the pressure at the end of your needle overcome the pressure in the vessel, right? So even you hit the vessel, but your pressure is less than the pressure in the artery, it will not cause the complication. It's right, even you hit it. So low pressure injection is the key. Okay, good anatomy knowledge, good skill, be careful, and low pressure injection. Okay, at this point, is there any questions?
Anyone have a question? No?
Okay. If no question, thank you very much for all of you.
Thank you once again for Dr. Oraket Banyan. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณมากนะคะ So So now we have a break about 10 minutes and we will come back again at 10:45.
later, late allergy. I'm get like lots of steroids and other antibiotics to go with it.
Okay, so to say friendly for the blindness, there's no non-effective treatment of choice, okay? Maybe retrobal maybe more promising than ideal.
We don't have like a eye surgery. We don't have. They don't even know what is dialysis.
But you have to.
Like I really want to train my man.
So who train all the specialistic?
Like that's why like I was showing my daughter movie at teacher to the
How many brands you can train right now? Don't get trained. Oh, you buy from that's not the computer there, right? So that's
That's why I don't choose video a lot like unless like it is like unless there is only like
okay. Normally, I do the mayor I do mayor and high dose omega 3. Yeah.
what is the like to increase blood flow?
Yes, granular first, you have to grow it. Because before you that, because there's a lot of tests that has been diagnosed with granular, but actually it's not true yet. Granular will be diagnosed as something that is the reaction from reaction. The pure immunological reaction. Okay, so some of the misdiagnosis as a granular actually is just the infection. So first of all, for me, I will do the empirical antibiotics. Okay, first, and if you not respond, you do the biopsy and do the culture. And culture for not just for the bacteria, you have to culture for microbacteria and fungus, slow growing one. And I think the majority of the case you can have your culture. But if you can rule out that okay, it's true granuloma, that's not infection. So you can use the intralational steroid. I think the same way as doing the keloid. If normally I started with the lowest one because although I'm a dermatologist, but I do not want to use steroid irrationally. Okay, so I always started the smaller dose. First, like you have 10 concentration of 10 or not, or you have only 40. In my country we have 10 or 40 milligrams. Okay, 40. Yes, I start with 10.
I'll try what 10 milligrams, but it's not appropriate. That's why I always with the Rigogate. I just with the Rigogate the higher concentration. So I take a bit because the patient is maybe all the time.
think you should stop injecting steroids. Wait and see.
Stop injecting, right?
Stop injecting steroid. You have to wait until the action of the steroid is over. Because steroid will match everything, match the symptoms. Okay, so if I treat this case, I will wait around 1 week to 1 month. Okay, 1 week to 1 month. And then after that, actually some battles like this and the substitution in this area also, right? Okay, so you will in that case, it's better for you to stop on steroid. Observe and for 1 week, I think we will do something and I think infection because this is the area where you have the injection, right?
Yeah.
And your product is the mesothelioma. It's the so liquid one, right?
No, they put a little bit, say like,
It's like filler or not?
no filler. But the patient is still
One.
Yeah.
So maybe just one.
Wait, no. Because patient always complaining she cannot wait and I got headache. That's why I inject him.
Just tell them that they are keep or you can inject it saline. Because okay, do you remember the theory of being walkers? The first rule. So in the case if you inject the steroid without giving a proper diagnosis, you stop. Tell them to do it 1 month. I think it's maybe sometimes it's only so.
Yeah. Automatically I know. But okay. I have to cut down the patient.
They have to cut down the patient. They are patient.
Yeah,
They have to listen to us.
I also don't want to be there because she will also have like
I know that aesthetic patients are like this everywhere. You know that everything they are sold something like this. But you know, as a doctor, you have to control. Tell them
now
now.
she complaining all the like brownish coloration. She has to play the doctor.
So first you go home. Come back to the room. Okay. And so if you have any problem in your body, you can use it. What's your professional?
Like I know like what feel like images are like very beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. Have you been in the medical industry?
Yes. I found it interesting. Like at first, I thought like to be honest, I thought it was what is this the way? And then like later, I found it like really good. And I even approached from the room. Yeah.
But you have to.
Yeah, like.
Oh, I will tell my friends to open up a company of maybe you should do this.
I'm so like scared.
Your friends right now. I made some professors from Yangtze University in London. Yeah, very nice.
as pray.
Always. And pray. Always.
Okay, so like you already shop here.
I use catalog always.
Can you from
Yes, for the forehead.
like from which
Okay, So first. Thank you. This is. เอาคนไทยเหรอคะโอเคหรือว่ายอมให้เสียสอง
พวกมันอีกอยู่แยกกันตรงนี้
Help please, she's from my country. Thank you.
เราเห็นนั่นได้เห็นที่วันไหนแล้วจะใส่บนจอเกิด
Thank you.
Okay, so like, can you tell me a little bit about
All the forehead injection, like.